29-7 is the final. Michigan dominates Michigan State today, Sam. I know it's the score might not reflect that, but Michigan had punted once, ran the ball, did what they wanted to do offensively, couldn't punch it in the end zone. They're going to have to address that later on in the season. But overall, an impressive win by the Wolverines.
Yeah, one that was marred a bit by the post-game assault, as Jim Harbaugh called it after the game. Was clearly upset. It seemed to, he's obviously happy with the win, but seemed to take away from the joy a little bit. Ward Manuel addressed it as well, said it's being addressed by Kevin Warren, it's being looked into by the authorities, clearly looking for some severe consequences to come from this. As you can see the passion from Ward Manuel calling this unacceptable several times. So Michigan is going to push very, very hard for something to come from this, something more than just a talking to or a tongue lashing. They want some suspensions and maybe even some criminal prosecution. We'll see if it comes to that, but a very, very, not just disappointing, but, to me, it could be criminal, kind of action from Michigan State after this game.
Well, as Ward said, unacceptable, and nothing like this should ever happen in a post-game celebration or anything. It's a sporting event. Rivalries happen. People get upset, but it should never happen.
You saw before the game, J.J. McCarthy said a loss to Michigan State will not happen. If we get up, we aren't going to take our foot off the gas pedal. We're going to pummel them. We're going to pile drive. He didn't say those words, but essentially saying if we get up on them, we're going to put them in the ground is basically what he was saying. So they did the Babe Ruth. They did the Reggie Jackson. They called their shot, and when they got up, you saw a flea flicker late. You saw another shot down the sideline late. So Michigan was clearly, sticking their nose in the, obviously Michigan State messed on the field, and they were sticking their nose in the mess.
Almost like the movie Step Brothers.
The Michigan State left on the field, right? And they didn't know how to take it.
Right.
They didn't know how to take it, clearly lost composure. And to me, as I said in our other video about this, that's a reflection of leadership. And, to me, if you're looking into this as the conference, even if the authorities don't step in, you aren't just reprimanding the player. Or reprimanding the players, you're representing their coach too. Because that many guys, if it's one guy acting up, you can say, all right, that's not the coach. That's not the coach's fault. You have one guy going wrong. But there are 10, 12 guys acting like that. That's a reflection of leadership. So they got pummeled in this game. The scoreboard doesn't accurately reflect it, to your point, 29-7. It is not the level of, it doesn't reflect the level of domination by Michigan in this game.
Yeah, 5 Jake Moody field goals. And then there was a touchdown by Blake Corum. He got on the board today. We got to talk about him.
Yeah.
He's been Michigan's workhorse. You know what? Hassan Haskins left. Blake sort of took the torch and has taken it and ran with it. He has been a workhorse for this team. Over 30 carries again today.
Yeah.
You know what? The most impressive thing? He only had his long was 17 yards. Now, it looked like he could have busted a 70-yarder 3 or 4 times today.
Shoestring away.
But he's still plugging away. How impressed were you by his performance?
Very impressed by not just him, but by the offensive line, by the running game.
Right.
In general, what we've learned the last 2 weeks is there are very few teams, few defenses in this country that are man enough to slow Michigan's run game down. They were churning between the 20s, right? It's just they are a machine when it comes to that. You can walk a safety down in the box, they can still run the football on you. Blake Corum, you can have 2 guys with him dead to rights. He can get through that. Same thing at times with Donovan Edwards. So it was imposing from that standpoint. And then as we'll get to with the defense, you can kind of see it impact the approach, game plan wise and play calling wise, started to reflect their confidence in A, we can run the football. B, Jake Moody is money. I was almost calling him Jake Money. And defensively, as we segue into that, we'll come back to talking about the throw game. But defensively, the way that this defense responded late in the first half and into the second half, that's a championship level performance. I know Michigan State is not a championship level team. I mean, Michigan State is a bad football team.
So let's get to that defensively. Let me set that up a little bit, Sam. Obviously, Coleman had the 4 catches, 100 yards on their lone touchdown drive of the half. Michigan made some adjustments at the half. They got Tucker went for it on 4th down. Michigan had some big stops there, but then they made the adjustments at the half. Michigan State's offense was non-existent in the second half. I mean, how impressed were you with the fact that Michigan was able to come out and lock them down?
Well, first of all, Mel Tucker was coaching like he knew his team was not as good as Michigan. They did not match up well with this Michigan team. He had to be reckless.
Played like the
to a
underdog,
point.
sure.
He had to go for it on fourth down, even when a field goal would have tied it, which was, in retrospect, a terrible decision.
Terrible call.
Terrible decision by him, right? Just, ceded whatever momentum you were picking up back to the home team. But Steve Clinkscale and Jesse Minner, you're watching Keon Clark, you're watching him have a day. Now, what's Michigan State's offense? They cannot run the football. They don't have Kenneth Walker, right? Kenneth Walker, again, should be getting a percentage of Mel Tucker's check. Because that is really what it boils down to.
True.
Why they were as good as they were last year, right? They can't run the football. You got one guy. If you're Michigan, you're looking out there, there's one guy that's beating us. He is obviously on fade balls at that. So how do you deal with that? How do you tighten that up? You don't let one guy beat you. If you're Michigan, you say, all right, we're going to take this guy out the game and see if someone else can beat us. So what did they do? They started pressing them. They would start playing with the safety over the top. We heard Vance Bedford, who does a great job in the breakdowns. He was thinking maybe they were going to play some outside leverage to maybe take that away. They didn't do that. They went to cloud coverage. So you roll your corner up in the flat. He plays the flat. You have a safety over the top. You roll your coverage to that side. Take him out of the game. He was virtually non-existent, but for that post play toward the end of the game, Clark didn't do anything else. And you saw Peyton Thorne had no alternative. It was a terrific adjustment. Terrific. And they went to it before the half. They came out after the half, and Michigan State couldn't bust a grape offensively. With all that receiver talent, a quarterback that I think it has game, and they could not display any of it against what was an imposing effort. That was a championship-level effort. I know this wasn't a championship-level opponent, but that was a championship-level effort by this defense. If you want to give a game ball out, the running game they were a boss in the game, between the 20s maybe, which we'll get to, but the defense is what turned this game with the fourth down stops, the 3-and-outs in the second half. It was an outstanding effort today by the Michigan D.
Let's switch it back to the offense. I know you want to hit on a few more things. J.J. McCarthy, again, stays undefeated as a quarterback. Wasn't the most impressive stat line, but he did all the little things that made sense today. Didn't make that big mistake. And then when he had to, he ran the ball. Got to pick up some first downs.
Yeah, so don't force it.
Yep.
Right? He did not force the football. He used his legs, extended some drives by getting some key first downs. And, I think as you got in the game, I mentioned they were turning between the 20s. They get in the red zone. They tried to run J.J. some more in the red zone.
Yeah.
That really didn't work. So you saw them try to bring out another dimension to maybe increase their touchdown efficiency in the red zone, and it just didn't work. They're going to need to, as you talk about playing championship-level football. And what do I mean by that? Michigan, with the way they're playing now, can beat 95% of the teams in college football. They dominated today. This was a dominant effort. It may not have been sexy, but they dominated Michigan State.
I agree.
And they will beat 95% of teams in college football playing this way. But the upper tier, the top 5%, their throw game is going to have to be better. I think JJ would tell you that. There were some guys he missed down the field at times. I think he will tell you that. I think the coaches might tell you that as they got deeper in the game and they saw he didn't have a rhythm, the running game was really still churning. Jake Moody is money, and the defense is on point. They kind of got conservative a little bit, right? You're in the red zone. It's like a 3rd and 11. They run the football. They're playing for the field goal at that point because now it's going to take a mistake for Michigan State to beat us, right? That's what they're saying. So, you play to win the game. You coach to win the game. That's what they did today. But if they are going to play and coach to win a championship, they're going to have to improve that throw game. They're going to have to get the receivers more involved in the passing game. Their downfield passing element is going to have to become more pronounced. If you're going to beat the Ohio States, the Tennessees, the Bamas, the Georgias, that's the measure now, right? Michigan has won a Big Ten championship, and I'm not poo-pooing a repeat as nothing. Right. But, the bar is higher now. Now you want to win a national championship. If you're going to do that, they're going to have to be better in the throw game. Fortunately for them, they have time to do that, and that doesn't take away from the dominance today. You can get lost in what they didn't do, like I see a lot of fans doing, and I even pointed out, they need to get better in the throw game, but that shouldn't take away from the way they punked Michigan State, in their running game with their defense today. That was a dominating effort and one that they can build on moving forward.
Absolutely. Michigan State's undefeated in Big Ten play. Yeah, It wasn't the prettiest win, but a win's a win, like you said, Sam. But hey, that's going to wrap up our coverage here from Michigan Stadium. He's Sam Webb. I'm Josh Newkirk for the MichiganInsider.com.